Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something I think many of us know too well.
Yeah.
That feeling of, wrestling with corporate travel booking systems.
Right. The endless clicks, the confusing options, it can be a real headache.
Exactly. If you've ever felt like booking a simple work trip online is way harder than it should be, well, you're definitely not alone.
Hmm.
So, we've got some interesting material today, mostly from Samyag AI, their website, and a document they have called Agile AI Email-Driven SBT, powered by Samyag AI platform.
Okay.
And our mission really is to get under the hood and figure out how this new flavor of AI, one that uses something as simple as email, might actually, fix corporate travel.
It's a fascinating idea
Hmm.
because the promise of easy corporate travel has been floating around forever, hasn't it?
It really has.
But the day-to-day reality, often it's still those clunky interfaces, lots of wasted time. What's exciting now, I think, is seeing AI potentially shift gears.
Shift gears?
Well, moving beyond just being a search engine, basically. Not just giving you information, but becoming more of an action taker. Something that almost knows what you need before you spell it all out.
Okay, right. From information to action. Let's dig into that. How does Samyag AI fit into this picture? They talk about mixing AI smarts with real travel industry know-how.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean on the ground? What can this platform do?
Well, what seems interesting here is how specific it is. This isn't your general purpose chatbot.
Mm.
The Samyag AI platform is built specifically for travel.
Tailored, you mean?
Exactly. Think AI models trained specifically on the quirks of flight routes, hotel availability, that kind of thing. They mention having dedicated AI agents using the right tools for these tasks.
Right.
And crucially, it's accessible everywhere.
Everywhere.
Well, omni-channel, they call it. So
Right.
web, email, even things like WhatsApp. The idea is you get the same experience no matter how you interact with it.
Okay, omni-channel. We hear that buzzword a lot. But something else jumped out from the sources, this integration with over 70 travel systems. Why is that such a big piece of the puzzle?
Ah, yes. That's huge because the travel world is incredibly fragmented, right?
Totally. Different systems for everything.
Yeah, I got airline systems, hotel databases, rental cars, all separate. This AI aims to be the glue, connecting them, pulling data from all these places in real time.
Real time. That sounds key.
It is, because unlike some generic large language models that might be working off slightly older info, this needs to be absolutely current. Flight availability changes by the second.
Right.
So it's about travel intelligence, specifically, not just general knowledge trying to figure out travel.
Okay, so it's designed to plug right into the existing complex travel ecosystem. Makes sense. Now, why is a new approach even needed? The document we looked at makes it pretty clear there are issues with the current online tools, the SBTs, that companies use.
Yeah, the self-booking tools.
What are the main frustrations driving this?
Well, the document really hits on this gap between, buying the tool and people actually using it.
The adoption problem.
Exactly. Companies roll out these web or mobile SBTs, expect everyone to jump on board, but often crickets or very low usage. And a big part of that seems to be usability or the lack of it.
Too complicated.
Often, yeah.
Mhm.
Just overwhelming. They throw screen after screen of options at you, which ironically just slows everything down. It's like information overload when you just need to book a flight.
I know that feeling, sifting through endless options when you're just trying to get your actual job done.
Yeah.
And it's not just frustrating for the user, is it? There are costs involved, too.
Oh, absolutely. The sources mention significant costs just to get these traditional SBTs up and running,
Yeah.
and then to maintain them.
And they don't update that fast either, apparently.
That's another point. The tech evolves kind of slowly, so rolling out new features takes time, which then means more training for employees on how to use the slightly changed but still complex system. It's a cycle.
It sounds like a pain. Mandatory logins, scrolling forever, no real personalization, and just finding the time during the workday to book travel.
Right. It's no wonder travel managers end up fielding constant questions and dealing with complex approval chains.
Which I guess brings us perfectly to the alternative the sources are pushing, using AI, but through email.
Yeah, the email-driven SBT. The core idea is incredibly simple. You, the employee, just email this travel department like you might have done years ago.
It feels almost counterintuitive, technologically speaking, going back to email.
On the surface, maybe. But the tech is under the hood. The document argues for high adoption, precisely because everyone knows email. There's no new system to learn.
Zero training cost.
Zero training. And they claim it's robust enough to handle complex trips, not just simple point-to-point bookings.
And they have data to back this up, this preference for email.
They do present some interesting numbers, like around 70% of corporate bookings apparently still happen via email or phone, despite the SBTs.
70%. Wow.
And even more striking, they say 85% of employees actually prefer using email for this stuff.
Okay, that's compelling. So even with fancy tools available, people stick with email. Why do you think that is? Is it just habit?
Habit might be part of it, but I think it also speaks to how we naturally handle complexity. Sometimes it just feels easier to describe what you need in plain language,
Yeah.
rather than clicking 50 different filters and drop downs. It's more conversational.
That makes a lot of sense. Which leads to a big question. If email is so popular and preferred, why did the traditional travel management companies, the TMCs, push so hard for the web and mobile SBTs in the first place?
That's a good question. The sources suggest it was largely about their operational efficiency and costs.
Ah, TMC side of things.
Right. Imagine handling thousands of travel request emails manually. You need a lot of agents. That scales poorly and costs a lot in staffing.
Okay.
Plus, manually checking every single email against complex company travel policies. That's slow, error-prone work. And think of all the back-and-forth clarification emails.
Time consuming.
Very. So the SBTs were seen as a way to automate their processes, reduce manual work, and enforce policy more easily on their end.
Got it. They were optimizing for their workflow, but it sounds like this Samyag AI approach tries to optimize for the user's workflow using email, but with AI doing the heavy lifting for the TMC.
Precisely. It flips the script slightly.
So tell us more about this specific solution. Mention Verank's Samyag AI-enabled email, SBT. How does it actually process that email?
This is where the AI gets clever.
Mhm.
It's designed to read the user's email, understand the intent, even if it's phrased casually, like, I need to get to London next Tuesday for 2 days.
Okay. Natural language understanding.
Exactly. And then it doesn't just understand, it generates options. It intelligently selects the best flights, hotels, maybe car rentals, based on the request and policy, and bundles them into an itinerary.
And quickly, apparently. They mention response times.
Under a minute is the claim, which is, that's a huge difference from potentially waiting hours for a human agent to even acknowledge the email.
Game changer right there. And it does more than just spit back options, right? It can interact.
Yes, that's key. It's built to understand emails in multiple languages. It can actually converse back and forth via email if it needs clarification.
Like, did you mean morning or afternoon flight?
Sort of, yeah. Or, this hotel is slightly over policy, but it's much closer to your meeting. Is that okay?
Yep.
It makes logical decisions, always checking against company policy and the user's profile, their preferences, frequent flyer numbers, everything.
How does it know all the policy stuff and preferences?
Through integration. They mention using traveling connectors to pull that data in from the company's systems and connect to all the different travel suppliers for real-time options. It's like a super-powered, always-on, rule-following travel agent.
Okay, so it understands the request, finds options, checks policy, knows preferences.
Yep.
What about the actual booking and approvals? Is that automated too?
It is. The Verank Samyag AI system can apparently kick off the booking automatically once an option is chosen. It manages the approval workflow, sending it to the right manager based on policy.
Email-based approvals too.
Seems so. Which could speed things up considerably compared to chasing approvals manually. Then it completes the booking in the background across those different travel systems.
And it learns.
Yes, that's mentioned too. It learns from choices and feedback to get better at recommending things over time. It can handle complicated multi-stop trips. And there's even a process for handing off to a human agent if needed for a really tricky decision.
A seamless handoff, ideally.
That's the goal. And finally, it automatically sends all the confirmations and documents straight to the traveler. End to end, really.
Wow. That genuinely sounds like it addresses most of the pain points we discussed with the old SBTs. And the sources even quantify some benefits.
They do. They talk about potentially cutting booking time by up to 50%.
Half the time.
Which is significant. Plus the fact you can do it 24/7, asynchronously send the email whenever, get options back quickly, approve when you can, without disrupting your main work.
And the zero training cost again.
Right. The AI does the hard work of sifting through options, finding the best fit, speeding up approvals. It directly tackles that too many choices problem.
It sounds like a win for the employee, definitely. But what about the travel agencies, the TMCs themselves? Is this good for them too?
The document suggests it is. For agencies, it means potentially offering this kind of AI power without a massive tech investment up front.
Lower barrier to entry.
Yeah, they can provide what feels like a very personalized, high-touch service because the AI is handling the personalization and speed, often without needing a human involved directly.
Mm.
Faster responses, 247 coverage.
And lower training costs for their own agents, too, presumably.
Exactly. Less training needed for their agents on complex booking tools and less need to train the corporate client's employees, so efficiency gains for them as well.
It really paints a picture of AI streamlining things across the board here. The sources also took a step back, looking at AI adoption more broadly in business. What were the key takeaways there?
Well, it seems clear that business leaders globally see AI as pretty essential for staying competitive in the next few years. It's not just a nice to have anymore.
A necessity.
Within travel specifically, when companies look at generative AI, the main drivers seem very practical. Cost savings and efficiency gains. That's what's pushing adoption right now.
Makes sense. Bottom line impact.
And a few things emerged as critical for success. The AI needs to connect to the company's own data sources, policies, profiles, past travel. It can't operate in a vacuum.
Tailoring is key.
Yes. And it absolutely has to be easy to adopt. No steep learning curves. And finally, it needs to be smart enough to handle the genuine complexity of business travel, which often isn't straightforward.
Okay, let's try and wrap this all up. If we boil it down, what's the core story here from this deep dive into AI and email for corporate travel?
I think the main takeaway is this clear shift happening. We're moving away from those often frustrating online booking tools, the SBTs, which, let's face it, didn't always deliver on their promise,
Right. Created new problems sometimes.
towards something potentially much more intuitive.
Yeah.
Using AI, but harnessing a tool, everyone already uses email to create a user-first experience.
Yeah.
And this approach seems poised to tackle those long-standing headaches: complexity, wasted time, cost, training burdens. It offers a path to something simpler, faster, and maybe even cheaper for both employees and companies.
So for you listening, the upshot could be pretty significant. Less time fighting with booking systems, maybe your company saves money on travel management, and just, a smoother ride next time you need to book a work trip.
Definitely. And it leaves you with a pretty interesting thought, doesn't it?
Right.
Well, if AI can potentially untangle something as established and sometimes messy as corporate travel booking just by leveraging email, what other standard business processes, things we just accept as the way things are done, could be completely rethought?
That's a big question.
What are the ripple effects for how we work with technology every day? How could it change productivity, user experience, way beyond just booking flights and hotels?
Definitely gives you something to chew on. Lots of potential there. So if this specific approach has caught your interest, checking out Samyag AI directly based on the sources we use today would be the next step.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.